Hi, and welcome to the second video of how to install Vectorworks 2025. This time we're going to do a command line install. Alright, I'm going to use this forum article by Tim Arduin from Vectorworks. I believe he's Vectorworks staff. Vectorworks Inc. employee. So yes, he has a reputation of 99. So one person out of 100 may not like the guy. That's not me. I don't have a problem with you, Tim. That's fine. I'm not that one person. So don't take it out on me. Alright, so we're going to go here. Vectorworks 2025 Install Manager 780616. I don't even know why I read that whole thing out. But anyway, you can run this as the standard installer like I did in the previous video. I'm not going to do that again because it took a long time. I'm just going to do the first step of Tim's article where he says you need to extract it. Because even though this is an installer, it's kind of like also a hidden zip archive, right? They recommend using 7-zip, so I've installed 7-zip. Right click, and I'm going to say extract to, I can't be bothered naming the thing, so I'm just going to extract it to whatever it recommends. Extract to the folder with the name of the file. It doesn't have to be called that, that's fine. You open it up, this is where all our stuff is, right? So what I'm going to do is, I would recommend, if we're going to do a deployment with this thing, don't make your deployment do the extraction step. Just extract it before we start. You know what? Even delete this now, right? We don't need that one anymore. We have our extracted set of files that we need to use to do the install. The reason I say that is you want to make a deployment as simple as possible. The less steps your deployment has to do, the less things there are to go wrong with your deployment, okay? So now we have our folder. I'm going to rename it because that's pretty long-winded. I'm just going to call it VW 2025. Okay, that's what it is. What we're going to do here is a simulation of what would happen in a deployment, just so we get used to it. So what I would do first is let's just dump it somewhere simple. As you can see here, Tim gives an example of making a folder called ctemp. You can do that if you want. You don't need to do that. What I've done is basically the same thing as Tim. I've extracted it to a folder. I've renamed that folder to what I want it to be called. It doesn't matter what it's called. And I'm just going to paste it on the root of C as is, okay? VW 2025. That's the first bit done. The next thing I'm going to do is show you inside this folder, okay? This is the exe that gets run to do the install. However, the thing that's running it is actually in the resources folder here. It's called cli.bat. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to run this from command line. So you're going to go to start menu, you're going to go CMD, you're going to right click, run as administrator, because we want to install it properly. We're going to change to this directory here. You can just copy and paste that if you want, save yourself typing. CD space, paste, oh God. So what we're going to do now is run the little mini app, cli.bat, to show you the options. Now you can do that, or you can come and look at what Tim did in his example on the forum. I'm just going to keep it simple because it really is simple. It looks like more than what it is. You look at all this stuff that Tim wrote, and you might go, oh, this looks complicated. It isn't. It really isn't. Just have a look at when you actually piece it together. You're not even using all of that, right? Like, just because there's like a ton of options here doesn't mean you're using them all. In fact, we're only going to use install and serial. So all we're going to do is we're going to go cli.bat install. So that's the command. Even though up here they say options and then command, you can go command and then options. It doesn't matter. It still works. As long as it's been fed everything it needs, it'll run. Okay, so cli.bat install. Then you need to tell it where the install path is, right? You can either use -I or you can use -- install dir. I mean, I'm lazy, so I'm just going to go -I, double quotes. They may not mention that there, but that's a thing you need to know because program files, where I'm going to install it, is a path that has a gap in it. Okay, and command prompt doesn't like gaps. If you don't put the double quotes around this, it will get to that first gap and stop, and it'll say, oh, C program, I don't know what that is. All right, So unless you're installing it in a folder that doesn't have a gap in the name, in which case you don't need the quotes, then use double quotes. So what I'm going to do is install it to C program files, VW25. You can call it whatever you want. You don't have to call it Vectorworks 2025. It's up to you. Okay, as long as you understand what that folder is. I can't see the users going into that folder, so why do they need to know what it's called? They don't. Only I need to know what it's called because I'm the one that has to look after this thing. All right, so C program files / VW25 or whatever you're going to call it, something that lets you know what application it is and what year it is. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So now you need to also pass your serial number to it. So here's the option, -S, or you can go -- serial. Well, again, I'm lazy. -S and paste your serial number in there. Okay, I got my serial number from here, the Vectorworks customer portal, and I selected it here. I copied it. I would recommend pasting it somewhere else first, even in the address bar, because the format there is kind of weird. I think it picks up extra somehow. And when you go to paste it into the command prompt here, it seems to just want to like jump down a line and reset your command. So I've done it by copying it somewhere else first, maybe Notepad or up there, and then pasting it into here. So cli.bat install -I C program files v25 -S and then your serial number, hit enter and watch what happens. Okay, installing. Okay, so that takes a while to get through. I've just cut straight to the end. It did installing, prepare to run installing files, and then it finishes. When it gets back to the command line again, then you know it's finished. I can see my directory here, program files VW25. It's all in there, from what I can tell. There's the exe. For some strange reason, it hasn't put the shortcut. I have a feeling that the way they've hard-coded this cli.bat is that it may expect program files Vectorworks space 2025 as the folder name. Doesn't bother me. In my deployment thing, I can set up a shortcut. Yeah, you can set up a shortcut in 2 seconds. Something to look out for. Bit weird. Anyway, let's run it up. Vectorworks 2025.exe. It should already have the serial implanted into it from that command line install. So I'm just going to wait and see what happens now. So as we can see here, it's hit the Vectorworks sign-in screen. Everything's great. It's telling me your license requires a Vectorworks sign-in. That means it's picked up my license. Great. It's picked up my serial. It's picked up my license. And it's ready to sign in. That means a user can kick straight off. Now, this wasn't a deployment as such, but we went through a simulation of the steps that are required in the deployment. Now, you might want to do this in a batch file. So all those commands that we ran here are just in a batch file and you run the batch file. Or you might want to then take that batch file and shove it into a deployment system like SCCM or Intune or Desktop Central like I'm going to use. You might actually have a way of passing the commands directly in your deployment platform, which you can do in SCCM. It's a bit fiddly in SCCM. I find it doesn't seem to treat commands the same as a batch file does. Like you got to play around with it a bit more. Desktop Central is very good for that. I can probably do Desktop Central without needing a batch file for this. All right. I'm going to run through how to do a batch file in another video. And then I'm going to do another video of how to set up a deployment in Desktop Central. But for now, I'm going to leave this here. Thanks for watching.